It was supposed to be a historic day. The grand unveiling of the world's first million-dollar hypercar, a symbol of unmatched design, power, and technology. The event hall buzzed with excitement. Journalists adjusted their cameras, investors chatted about future profits, and the CEO of Titan Motors, Mr. Reynolds, stood on stage with a confident smile. Behind him, under a silk cover, rested the car that would change automotive history. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began proudly, "today you will witness the future. A vehicle built from dreams and precision by the world's best engineers." With a dramatic gesture, he pulled off the cover. The crowd gasped. The car gleamed under the lights, silver body, razor-sharp curves, and a roar waiting to be heard. The chief engineer stepped forward and pressed the ignition button. Cameras clicked, people leaned forward, and nothing happened. The engine coughed, sputtered, then died completely. An uncomfortable murmur spread through the audience. The engineer frowned, tried again. Still nothing. The dashboard lights flickered weakly, then went black. "Must be a minor glitch," he said quickly, forcing a smile. But when a second, third, and fourth attempt failed, even the smile faded. Mr. Reynolds whispered, "Fix it now." Within minutes, 30 of the company's top engineers surrounded the car. Laptops opened, wires were connected, diagnostic codes ran across screens. Sweat trickled down foreheads as data poured in, but every result came back clean. The systems appeared flawless. "It makes no sense," one of them muttered. "There's no error." Hours dragged on. The crowd was dismissed. The CEO's confidence cracked into panic. The engineers replaced parts, reinstalled software, even swapped batteries, but the hypercar remained silent. It was as if the machine itself had given up. By evening, the room was filled only with exhaustion and disappointment. One by one, the engineers stepped back, defeated. The dream of a global spectacle had collapsed into an expensive embarrassment. Mr. Reynolds stared at the lifeless car, whispering, "How can 30 of the best minds fail?" And from the back of the hall, a small, curious voice spoke up in soft but clear. "Maybe you're listening to it the wrong way." Heads turned. Standing by the doorway was a little girl, holding a small, worn-out toolbox and a shy smile. The moment the little girl spoke, every head turned. The massive garage, filled with tired engineers and blinking monitors, went utterly silent. Standing near the doorway was Aisha, a 10-year-old girl with curious brown eyes, clutching a tiny red toolbox that looked older than her. Her father, Mr. Imran, the janitor of the facility, hurried forward in embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, sir," he stammered, looking at the CEO and the engineers. She didn't mean to interrupt. "I'll take her outside right now." But Aisha shook her head gently. "Papa, wait. Let me just look. I think I know what's wrong." The engineers exchanged smirks. One of them chuckled, "Sweetheart, this isn't a toy car. It's a hypercar with an AI engine management system." Another whispered, "She probably saw a YouTube video and thinks she's a mechanic." But Mr. Reynolds, the CEO, who had already lost all hope, sighed and waved a hand. "Let her try. We've had 30 experts fail. Maybe a fresh pair of eyes won't hurt." Her father froze. "Sir, really?" "Yes," Reynolds said wearily. "At this point, I'll take a miracle." Aisha walked up to the car, her little sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. She climbed onto a small stool near the front, eyes glowing with fascination. The bright lights reflected off the silver hood as she leaned in, studying the open engine bay. She didn't rush. She simply listened. The hum of inactive circuits, the faint click of a cooling pipe. Everything spoke to her in a strange mechanical language she seemed to understand instinctively. Her fingers traced along a bundle of multicolored wires, stopping at a small silver connector buried deep under a metal cover. She frowned. "This one's wrong," she said softly. The lead engineer raised an eyebrow. "Wrong? That's the thermal control sensor. It's fine." Aisha shook her head. "It's connected backward. The car thinks the engine is too hot, so it won't start." "You didn't check the polarity?" The man blinked, shocked. He crouched to look where she pointed, and froze. She was absolutely right. "Can I fix it?" she asked politely. The CEO nodded slowly, still staring in disbelief. Aisha reached into her little toolbox, pulled out a screwdriver, and carefully reconnected the wire. Her hands were steady, confident. Then she stepped back and smiled softly. "Now," she said, "try starting it again." The room fell silent as Aisha stepped back from the car, her small hand still smudged with grease. Every eye in the garage was fixed on her, some curious, some doubtful, some secretly hoping for a miracle. The lead engineer swallowed hard, exchanged a look with the CEO, and pressed the ignition button. For one tense second, nothing happened. Then, vroom! The sound was deafening. The $1 million hypercar came alive, the engine purring smoothly like a heartbeat. The LED lights glowed, the dashboard flickered with color, and the roar echoed through the hall like a victory song. Everyone froze, unable to believe what they were hearing. Mr. Reynolds blinked, his mouth falling open. It's running!" The engineers rushed toward their monitors. Readings that had once shown errors now displayed perfect balance. No faults, no overheating warnings, no failures. The system was flawless. One of them turned to Aisha, speechless. That's impossible. "We ran every diagnostic. How did you even notice that?" Aisha smiled shyly and shrugged. "Machines talk if you listen carefully. You just have to understand what they're saying." Her father, still holding his mop, looked like he might cry. "That's my daughter," he whispered, pride trembling in his voice. The CEO approached slowly, his polished shoes echoing on the floor. He knelt down so he could meet her eyes. "Young lady, what's your name?" "Aisha," she said quietly. "Well, Aisha," he said with a warm smile, "you just did what 30 of the world's top engineers couldn't. You saved our car, our company, and probably my career." The entire hall erupted in applause. Reporters who had lingered outside rushed in, cameras flashing, capturing the unbelievable moment. A little girl standing proudly beside the roaring hypercar while dozens of engineers clapped for her. Aisha blushed and hid behind her father's arm. "I just fixed a wire," she whispered. But to everyone else it was more than that. It was genius, courage, and heart. Mr. Reynolds straightened up. "Aisha, I want to offer you something special, a lifetime scholarship, and when you're older, a place here at Titan Motors." Aisha's eyes widened in surprise, but her smile said it all. For the first time, the little girl who loved machines had changed the world with a single, simple act, listening to what no one else could hear. The next morning, the story had spread across the world like wildfire. Every news channel, website, and social media feed buzzed with one unbelievable headline. 10-year-old girl fixes $1 million car after 30 engineers failed. Inside her small apartment, Aisha sat at the kitchen table, still wearing her favorite hoodie with grease stains from the night before. Her father scrolled through his phone, reading article after article aloud in disbelief. "They're calling you the little mechanic of Titan Motors. Look later, even the news in Japan and the US is talking about you." Aisha giggled. "I didn't do anything special, Papa. I just fixed a wire." Her father smiled softly, placing a hand on her head. "Sometimes small things make the biggest difference." His eyes glistened with pride, not because of fame or headlines, but because his little girl had proved that heart and curiosity could outshine even the most advanced machines. Later that day, Titan Motors invited them both back to the facility. The entire staff stood waiting, clapping as Aisha and her father walked in. Cameras flashed and banners hung high. "Welcome back, Aisha, the girl who believed." Mr. Reynolds stepped forward, holding a sleek white envelope. "Aisha," he said, smiling warmly, "this is your scholarship, full education sponsorship from school to university. You'll have a place here whenever you're ready." Aisha's eyes widened. "Thank you, sir. But can I still come here sometimes, just to watch how cars are made?" Everyone laughed gently. "You can come any time," Reynolds said. "In fact, maybe you can teach us a thing or two." That afternoon, Aisha stood near the hypercar again, now shining under bright showroom lights. The crowd watched as she placed her small hand on the hood, whispering softly, "See? You just needed someone to listen." Her father stood a few steps behind, eyes full of emotion. The little girl who once fixed his broken bike in their tiny garage had now fixed a $1 million masterpiece and inspired the world. As they left the building together, the sunset painted the sky orange and gold. Aisha looked up at her father and said, "Papa, one day I'll build my own car, and it will never stop." He smiled proudly, "And I'll be right there to hand you the wrench."